can hear you call my name. I can hear you call my name.
From as early as Christy can remember, she would have encounters with entities such as dragon-looking principalities that are, in fact, fallen angels. She even encountered gray aliens and Nordic aliens, which are blue-eyed, blonde-haired, tall, beautiful people that look like the Nordics. They would take women like Christy and bring her into the UFOs. They would impregnate her, then bring her back home. Then they would take her once more at about 8 weeks of her pregnancy, and would then remove the child from her womb and put it into an artificial womb. In the later years, they would take her to the underworld where the blonde giant men lived, called the Nephilim, referenced in the Bible. Today they're known by many different names, but bottom line, they are hybrid beings of the fallen race, or as Tim Alberino would call them, the elder race. The elder race and their hybrid children are far superior with technology and intelligence. It was there that they would speak to her telepathically. And it was there that she saw some of her children that were hybrids. Christy's testimony just starts there. You see, Christy was in many occult rituals over her lifetime because she came from an occult background where her mother did many rituals, sometimes including her, sometimes not. Not only was she in the breeding program, but she was put into several other programs within the beast system that includes the shadow government projects in undisclosed locations, under the earth in bases, and underworld cities created to train super soldiers, the chosen ones for the Great Awakening spoken of by Russ Dizdar in his book. The Great Awakening. This is where they would train spies, super soldiers, and assassins. It's not the only training she received, but some of that is too graphic to speak of here. It did include learning to be a spy with her specific skill set that she was groomed for since birth. The best kind of spy is a spy that doesn't know they are a spy. Christy fought back and ended up on a targeted individual hit list. For the last 20 years of her life, it has been hell. They still include her in the programs and other experiments against her will, but she's been bombarded with weapons of destruction that most people are not aware exist. Through it all, there was one hope she clung to. That was the hope in the Lord. The hopes and prayers that He would set her free one day. He has only made her stronger, more resilient, given her life a purpose, so she could shine the light of truth on the darkness of this world, in the hopes that she can help set the captives free. There is only one who can set you free, and that is Jesus Christ Himself. Now stay tuned as she shares her testimony.
Hey everyone, this is Shelley. Thank you for coming back and joining me here. I'm here with Chris, and we're talking about Super Soldiers Part 2 tonight. And it's going to be really quite interesting, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Please click the bell so that you'll get the notifications, and let's get this word out to people. Thank you. Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. And welcome, guys. Welcome to BattleBorn and welcome to Truth Lives. We like to collaborate, as you guys know now, if you've been watching our shows. And today, yeah, we're going into Super Soldier topic. It kind of bleeds into other topics. Today, I'll be sharing more of my story and some of my experiences and some of the things that I know about it, how it connects to other programs and other things, and how we're really dealing with the beast system here. That's all this is. It's one very organized beast system. Today, I'll start by just talking briefly about what the Super Soldier program is, even though we've done that in the last video. So refer to that if you have not seen that video yet. It goes into much deeper detail of what the Super Soldier program is.
Excuse my glitchy computer. I don't know why it does that when we get on here together.
But she wanted to show her face. So we rather have glitchy Shelly than have no Shelly at all.
Oh, oh boy. That's funny.
And you look beautiful today.
Thank you. You do. You always do.
Thank you. First of all, the Super Soldier program is basically a program that started off in the 1940s. In World War II, they were creating super soldiers. Adolf Hitler was the head of that. He started a program creating super soldiers. And this all goes back to the Aryan Nation. In this program, they were connecting with the fallen angels and their hybrid children. And this is where it's led to. Today, we have super soldier programs in the shadow government. They have created these programs for the end times. In the end, there will be a trigger that activates these super soldiers. Shelley, you want to explain a little bit about how that works and a little bit about Russ Dizdar before I start sharing my experiences with it?
Sure. Yeah, and I want to say that the Nazis, they were very occultic, and it was part of the Black Flame. And what they wanted was a pure bloodline, what they thought are called a pure bloodline in their eyes. So Hitler and Himmler and all the others took these kids. What they did was they started breeding people, and they bred um, kids, and then they had all these kids growing up, and by the time they were teenagers, they just put them together to have kids. And so they were, rapidly having children, and the more that they did this, the more it was creating that bloodline that they were looking for.
Yeah, they were trying to keep the bloodline pure.
Yeah, they called it the pure blood. Pure
This
blood.
is
They had to purify their blood, and they wanted pure blood. Yeah,
this,
blonde hair, blue eyes.
mhm.
Mhm.
This is why the elites interbreed. They don't go outside of their bloodline as well. I mean, it's all part of the same thing.
Mhm. They do it occasionally, though. I want to say just so that they can bring in some fresh blood, and I think that those people are probably somehow still tied in and
Well, they
interrelated.
are. If you go
Yeah,
back in their history,
yeah,
they still have ties to bloodline ties to them. It's
yeah,
just more diluted, but they bring it in. Yeah.
yeah. They do it partly, I know, because they don't want to get too funky looking, so they bring in others, yeah, to help keep from having that look, or so.
Yeah.
Viewer discretion is advised. This may contain explicit content that includes coercion, abuse, sexual abuse, SRA topics. Parental guidance advised. If you are sensitive to this type of content and you think these topics may trigger you, consider this a trigger warning. Use your own discretion and voluntary decision-making power to decide if you or your children should watch this content.
Yeah, and Russ Dizdar got into all of this. I think it was by God's providence, but maybe to him at first it might have seemed accidental. But he started coming across these people who you know some were demonically possessed, and some only parts of their split personality are possessed, not all, but some of them can and are demonized too. And it's done through these um, satanic rituals and ritual abuse. And it starts a lot of times, as we said in the part one, it starts in the womb sometimes.
For me, it did. It started in
Yeah,
the womb. I had a soul tie with a spiritual being, which is one of the principalities, I believe. It looks like a
yeah,
dragon, but it's a fallen angel. It's one of the ones that aren't locked up. And I had a soul tie, which is like a marriage to it, and by no means special. There's millions of us, and anybody in the super soldier program has this soul tie to one of these creatures. We belong to them, is how this works. And it's not like they have good intentions for our lives. And when like Shelley said, the multiple personalities, I like to call it program multiples, because is what it is it's very controlled. They break you through trauma, an extreme trauma. I remember some of it, and they start out as a child. When I was a child, my earliest memories are of this creature and being abducted out of my home by the Nordics, which is all part of the same thing. People don't understand this. It's all part of the same B system. And then as time went by, just more and more things would happen. And as I got older, I was abducted more. You don't remember it at first. Some stuff starts bleeding through. But when they do the trauma, they do start at a young age, as early as 4 years old, 3 and 4 years old. I remember the things that they were doing. I had ritual abuse. It's very ritualistic. It was sexual and with torture, and it's the kind of torture where they're suffocating you. That was my experience. Physical pain. They would suffocate me until I was out cold, and then they would do it again and again and again, and they keep doing the physical torture, the sexual torture, and the mental torture until you break into pieces. And then these pieces, they go in, they name them, they create a personality within them, and then they will assign a demon to maybe just one or two. And these people that they're creating within the pieces of you will now have a job. They will have an assignment. They will be trained in this particular part that we're talking about in the super soldier. And it's not the only thing that I did there. There was other things, and I will get into that in other videos. But as far as the super soldier thing, they train you extensively. They train you to be a killer. They turn off your conscience. Although with some of us, some of that bled back through. I remember my brothers and sisters there, and they are like brothers and sisters to you because you've known them since you were very, very young, some of them, and we've known them for, I was older, but some of the people that I was with were a little younger than me. I mean, but is what they do is they take you to these training camps, but they're not like camps like you would think, like in the military. They're full on cities, but they're dark. Like there's really not very much light. And they would have these windows where these elites and these leaders would be watching, and they would have these monitors on the wall where when you're in different areas and different sections, they can still view you. It's disgusting. You would fight to the death, and I mean to the death. Sometimes they would do this with virtual reality, but sometimes they did this through mind transfer. I believe in the early stages, it was virtual reality till you get to a certain level, and then they start doing this mind transfer into a clone. And sometimes the clone doesn't always look like you, but most of the time it does. But there's been other times where that I actually remember where they put me into something that was a creature that looked very much like a dogman or a werewolf, if you will. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of these werewolves that, these super soldier programs, they have all kinds of different creatures, but they had a mind transfer putting me into these things. And this was for training. Okay. This is for training. And within the training, you're going with groups. You might have 4 or 5 people with you, and all the other people would be in groups as well. And you are going through this process of battling against each other. And I mean, there's torturous things that people were doing to each other. I mean, they're brutal. They teach you how to use weapons. And I mean, all weapons, like every kind of weapon you can think of, rifles, assault rifles, handguns, knives, swords, things like that. They teach you how to use these things. and they teach you to be very efficient. They teach you hand-to-hand combat. Um, it's brutal, the things that they teach you how to do, and you do it with no remorse. You're not even thinking about the other person. It's just total brutality.
What was that movie that they put out about that? I mean, they did do a movie about that. Those teenagers that are all gathered in that one place. I remember and they had to fight each other.
The Hunger Games.
Yes.
She's right.
Wicked,
there is
wicked.
there is a show called The Hunger Games. It's just like that, but think about it on a much, much broader scale. It's like a small city. It's like a city that's very compact, but it's very dark, and you're going through all these different places, and it's very dark.
The elite were having them do it as a game. It was a sport to them.
Well, it is a
Send these
sport to
kids
the
out there
elite.
to end up killing each other for survival because only one could survive.
Yes. Well, this is the
Oh.
same thing, but it was in teams. And the winning team, oh my gosh, I'll tell you about that in a minute. But this is how it would go. Like they would set you loose. And yes, this is a game to them. So they enjoy watching this. This is why they watch it. This is why the elite are sitting there watching it, because these murderous, and it's not just murder, they're raping each other. There's some extreme violence and depravity that is going on in these things, and they're viewing it, they're enjoying it. That's what they do, but it's still training at the same time. And I remember being with my team, and there'll be some new people, and I'm like, be quiet. I mean, there was other creatures there too. It wasn't just other people. There was creatures there that would rip you apart, things like that. I remember fighting. I remember having no mercy, just complete no mercy. I remember one time I was in a battle. I was cornered. I often tried to avoid some of these battles. And one time I was put in a position where I was cornered. And I remember the techniques I used. And in my life outside of that, I took judo. And I'm not that good of a fighter today. I mean, I can defend myself, don't get me wrong, but my program multiple can fight. And she took this girl down in 2.5 seconds, and
Yeah.
she was twice my size and very aggressive. I whipped around her, took her down by her neck, and she was out like quick, like very, very quickly. I mean, the stuff that they train you, I mean, it's like special ops kind of stuff. I mean, they really want you to be a person who's willing to kill and just keep going. And what you don't understand is, in the end times, they're going to set these millions, and I mean millions, of super soldiers loose all at once. They'll be triggered at the same time, and they'll all have their assignments. There'll be mass murder. And then when they're done, they shoot themselves in the head and they're dead.
All over the world.
It'll be all over the world. Yeah, not just in the United States or anything. All over the world, this is going to happen. I mean, I've been set free from this because the Lord has set me free from this. But let me tell you something. They have put me through hell since I started talking about it. I'm a targeted individual. It's just one of the many programs. I'm in the experimental part, but now I'm being targeted on another level because I'm speaking out. They've done things like released a nerve gas in my house. They have done so much to me. They have threatened me. They threatened to blow my house up with me and my son in it. They threatened to blow my daughter's car up with my daughter in it. They have threatened. Just the other night, they gave me a voice to skull, their voice to skull technology, where they went in my head while I was dreaming. And one of the breaking techniques that they did to me was horrific. I can't even tell you all of what they did, but they showed me a tape of, they were coming into the house trying to get to me. And I recognized the men because these are the same men who had been programming me when I was younger. And they did very vile, vile, vile things to me while torturing me. And it was part of, the breaking. And so this was one of the other things that they've done to me. They scooped me up off of the street and put an implant in me. They have done so many things to me. Bottom line is that they don't want these secrets out. But and if this is happening to you, speak out, because taking away the secrets of the enemy disarms them. It takes away their power. They've tried to, another thing that they've done is they've tried to reprogram me twice, but God did not allow it. God can release you from this and keep this off of you. And when I say they tried to reprogram me, they tried to reprogram me. Yeah. And it didn't work.
There
So
are a lot of targeted individuals, and I'm discovering that there's a lot more of them than I thought. And not only, are they, some of them not Christians, but some of them are Christians who are being targeted.
yes.
And these lasers that they can use to burn people
Yes.
can actually come into the home, and they can reach the person to up within an inch. I mean, they're
Through the
coming up
walls.
with different ways to protect themselves, because they have like an inch to get out of the way of that. And because I mean, it leaves some severe burns.
Yes.
Deep.
They
Yeah.
burned my stomach, like burned, like radiation burn, like where it's bubbling up.
Yeah.
They have attacked me with radiation where I've lost 2/3 of my hair. They did that. It's just now growing back. They've done a lot of things to me ever since I started speaking out. Before that, I was just in the program, because they test out their weapons on the public. Whether you know that or not, it's what happens. Millions of people are targeted. They are tested on. This has happened to me since 2004. It's all part of the same crap. I mean,
Yeah.
we're
It is.
nothing to them. We're just disposable people. So,
They think so anyway. And
yeah.
it's worth mentioning too, back to Russ Dizdar, that he didn't realize, who these individuals were at first, but they began to tell him, they started telling him that they were calling themselves the chosen ones.
Yes.
And someone telling him that they were the Black Awakening. So there's, I know one at least, but I don't know how many, told him that they were the legions that would rule the world, and that they were the army of the Antichrist. I do know though that Russ um, started asking God, he said he did, to send them the people who needed help. They started telling Russ Dizdar who they were in their eyes, that they were the chosen ones, and that they were the satanic super soldiers, or the super soldiers of Antichrist. And they called themselves the Black Awakening. And the legions
The
who
Legion.
will rule the world, the
Yes.
army of the Antichrist.
See, they brainwash us into thinking that we're part of their family. I've been told since I was a little girl that I'm part of this wonderful family, and I'm there to help grow the family, and I'm there to basically help the family. I was in their breeding program for a long, long time, and then in 2004, all hell broke loose. Shortly thereafter, they put me in the super soldier program. Yeah, I have lots of missing time. I did for many years. I didn't understand that part of it. God started giving me back my memories. I was terrified to talk about this subject for many, many years. I swore I never speak on the targeted individual or the programs that they had me involved in. Well, I'll talk about more of the other things that they had me involved in another video, but I will say that they had me astral projecting, which I don't know how much you guys know about remote viewing, but I do believe I was part of that. They use techniques such as like Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz. It's a breakdown. It's nothing nice and cozy. It's the very demonic version of it to shut you down. And to this day, both of those things really freak me out. But it's to shut you down, and it's to create these different parts of you as a child.
Yeah, I'll just call him Colonel Jack for right now, but he's the one that taught them how to do that, how to use so-called psychic abilities, which
Yes.
is also a part of the occult.
Mhm.
They use it to teach people how to use what they call their psychic abilities and astral out of their body,
Yes.
and so that they can remote view people
Mhm.
and basically eavesdrop on people and spy on their lives and what they're doing,
Yeah.
especially people like Chris that they want to keep in contact with or keep up with. And of course, they don't want these people who have been satanic ritual abuse victims and who are mind controlled and split being able to start realizing things and telling others about it.
Exactly.
That's part of it. Yeah. It's a part of control.
Yes. Well, what you said there is 100% correct. They also, with the different split personalities that they create, the program multiples, you'll have different things that you do. And one of the things that they, in their selection, they're picking you for your bloodline for one. Two, they're picking you based on your gifting, and they will test those giftings when you're very, very young, and then they will grow those giftings. And you won't understand why you're so different from everyone else as you're growing up. I mean, you'll have these weird memories and stuff, but you learn to keep your mouth shut, and they have it programmed in you. Keep your mouth shut. You don't speak on any of these topics. Um, some of the program multiples will have different tasks. Some of it is very much involved in spying and things like that. They will have program multiples that you don't even remember. It could be for assassination, it could be for spying. I'm not sure if I want to share this part of my story, but I will share part of it. They had me doing this. And I do remember part of it uh, as a different person. I'm not going to say the name I went by, but they had me doing this.
Yeah. You know, something else that ties in with this is Bohemian Grove and that big statue of the owl, that's Semiramis. And they don't do mock sacrifices there.
Hope.
And they take all presidents and everyone involved there to watch this. And of course, they tell people it's a mock, you know, it's set up as a mock sacrifice of someone, but it's not. You can tell by listening to the screaming. And what they're doing is they're summoning demons to put this spirit. They
With
cause
it,
it's a specific demonic presence and atmosphere that they're sending out onto the president or the other, you know, and the others
it's
there.
also principalities. It's
Yeah.
not just the demonic. I do believe when they're doing those rituals, it's not always demonic, although it goes with that. It's the principalities that they're putting. It's like putting a power over them. One of the principalities that now controls them, I believe. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, I can't think of it right this minute, but it is a specific
Yeah.
um, spirit that they send out onto them through these rituals, through the bloodletting, and of course the pain and the sacrifice and the fear and terror. And what they're doing is sending this out on not only the president but all the others. And they take all the presidents through this in the United States, but not only the United States, it's in every nation. And the monarchy and others, you know, this is a part of what all of them do.
Yes.
It's
That's
a part
very
of
true.
yeah, the elite and their what they believe are their bloodlines, which they may very well be.
Oh, they
I
probably
mean,
are.
some of them certainly have that look.
I personally think it's a watered down bloodline.
Yeah, at this point.
Yeah, it's a watered down bloodline, but they seem to think they're very important to these beings, these principalities, these fallen angels that they worship. And they think that they are the chosen race. They are the elite race. And, you know, they're convinced, they are convinced, just like they do with people that are in these programs, they convince you you're the chosen ones, you are the special ones, you are a part of the beast system. But the thing, you know, the thing is, you're being fooled, you're being used for the
Yes.
destruction, your own destruction and others. It's about destruction. It's about chaos, bringing order out of chaos. And you know how they
Because they want,
out of the ashes they will rise. The
yeah,
phoenix,
the
down,
phoenix
yeah,
rising. It's
out of the phoenix they will rise. But you got to understand what that means. That means when they enact the super soldiers, this is to set off a series of events. It won't just be the super soldiers. The super soldiers are going to create chaos and fear amongst everybody. People will be going mother against daughter, and people will be killing each other. This is what sets this off. And then more war, more destruction. Half of the population will be killed. It's in Revelation.
yes.
It's in Revelation. Almost 4 billion people will be gone. And this is what sets it off. It's the red horse.
Like Chris said, when you know the chaos begins, it's going to be because the restrainer has been removed. I don't think, you know, Christianity, we're not really certain of what the restrainer is. I think most believe, I tend to believe that it is the Holy Spirit, because the Word of God says that when peace is taken from the earth, then yeah, it will be the red horse prophecy of Revelation 6:4. It will be complete blood slaughter.
Yeah. Agreed. It will
Yeah.
be devastating. In our next series, we're going to go into Revelation and show you how this plays out with the super soldiers and the other programs within Revelation. I'm going to go into that a little more, a little deeper dive, and then I'll share some more of my experiences next time as well.
Yeah. And I'm going to read this from the Black Awakening.
Okay,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. It says, I had seen those black glassy eyes on so many times. I had worked with many of them before. I saw them change before my very eyes. I talked with many of these purposely created and highly trained personalities. They were on the inside on a sublevel. I also talked to the sleepers within. Yes, God showed us how to wake them up too. When they stared at me eye to eye, I could see an ominous, ancient hatred. It seemed as if many were looking all at once. Those eyes seemed to be telescopes that hell from a distance was looking through, and revenge was burning in their mutated DNA. They were transmuted in this state, not fully human. I heard their rants, their claims, their plans, their various voices. There were so many of them on the inside. Didn't anyone ever stop to ask where they came from?
Those are the demonic that she's reading about. Those are the fallen angels' children who want revenge.
Yeah,
Those are the ones that are attached to those program multiples. They're in complete control when
yeah,
they are controlling us. Those demons are living through us. That's where all that hatred and lack of mercy and just complete depravity and murderous
yeah,
demons that are controlling people like myself. And it's not all of us. Like I'm a Christian, but one of my personality, well, several of them are not. That I'm completely healed from that. God has put those pieces back together in me. But would you like to read some more of that, Shelley? I think people need to hear it if you're
sure.
into it.
It says, who did this? Who forged these warriors? Didn't anyone put the pieces of the puzzle together? I watched many of them for years before this day occurred. Many of them warned me and mocked my faith. I tried to do my best. I wished I had done more. I knew I couldn't stop it, but in the name of God and love, all I would do, I could do. I also knew there would be an answer from the throne of grace. Some of these chosen ones who tried to get away from their creators and handlers told us the very scary stories of their upbringing. Their inner personalities told us their beliefs, their secrets, and their plans. Thousands of horror stories floated to the surface in the public. Books, tapes, and conferences tried to convey the message of a great perversion and a terrible evil.
Yes, it's incredibly evil.
Yes, few really listened. These victims were forged by solid evil. These are the chosen ones. At least that's what they called themselves. Few knew this title. It was their badge of honor to be a chosen one. They were in hiding for years. Secret weapons. Some good, some good men said they were blended into society so well, unless you knew, I mean, really knew, it was almost impossible to detect them. They were all placed so deep in their assigned areas. As I looked out the window toward the city, I watched for them. I knew they were there and had been watching us for a long time. These sleepers were waiting in a satanic shadow for a very long time, waiting for their call to come in. Something had to happen to spark all of them into this perverse slaughter, a killing field. It wasn't a war or troops from another nation. It was more like a civil war, a civil butchering. They needed a call, a trigger, or a cue to activate was what was buried deep within. The sleeper personalities that were created in them since childhood were like zombies lying in the carved out inner tombs. The call or trigger that activated them was something spiritual, powerful, powerfully supernatural, and technical combined.
Well, I'd like to say something before you continue reading.
No, go ahead.
Okay, they will trigger people like myself, these super soldiers. They will trigger it with frequency, I believe. They can be triggered just by trigger words. They have a set of words that they will say, but in this last event, this great reset, the beginning of the great reset, Satan's words, not ours. It will be with frequency. God showed me this in dreams.
Yeah, they are using frequency.
Mhm.
Some came from the old rogue military black ops projects. They called them monarchs. It's a word many of them also used. An old friend once said to me, "Do you know that monarch butterflies are the only insects that migrated to every continent on the earth?" I knew what he meant, and that those chosen ones were planted everywhere. Some of them told me about the military labs underground. The experiments were filled with torture and human cruelty. These doctors knew how to do the doubling, just like the old Nazis. Oh, yes, many of them talked about a Dr. Green.
One of the other things I'd like to add to that, and I said it in the previous video, but you need to understand this, is that they are now augmented. They can speak to one another and they can get their orders directly. So that's a thing.
Yes.
Today they can be programmed, they can be turned on and off for certain tasks. It isn't like it's just at the end times. They use assassination all the time in this manner. They can be activated at any time and they can communicate back and forth. And I can attest to this. I'm telling you, this is a thing and it's real and it's happening now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Of course, just like the voice to skull technology, they're also using all the other things that you mentioned, you know, like frequency.
We're going to go over the technology in a video too, either next week or the following week, because I want to go into grave detail about the technology that they are using, the weapons that they have. There are patents for it. They have been used, they've been tested out on people like myself and other targeted individuals that are in the program for the testing. I mean, we're just all disposable people to these people. They just don't care. They just don't care, you know?
They see us like cattle. I mean, they really live, they see us as cattle
They do.
because they think that they're part of, whether we believe it or not, they do. They believe these things and they have been working on for thousands of years seeing this come true and seeing it happen. And it is. I mean, it's literally happening. We're in those
We're in that time.
biblical times, yes. And
Yeah.
they do believe it, and it does bring it to pass. They truly believe that they are a part of the serpent or the dragon bloodline,
Yes.
and that it makes them superior. It makes them the elite in many ways. I mean, not just as far as their wealth, which that's part of it, but they believe that they're part of these demigods and the fallen angels and the gods that you know were
Yes.
created back in Genesis 6 that were worshipped as gods anyway.
Yes.
So they do believe that that is their bloodline.
I was convinced. I was convinced that this
Yeah.
is my family and they loved me and I was important and I was special. I was convinced of this most of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know they definitely believe it. And, you know, like I said, that does make it, that's a part of making it come to pass. There's a lot of things in the works and things they've been doing to bring about this new world order.
Yeah.
Of course, it's called by many names.
Yeah. We've had many resets, but this is the great reset. This is the
Great
final
reset.
battle. This is
Yeah.
their final battle against God. This is against God. They really think they're
Yes.
gonna win.
Yeah.
Such arrogance I've never seen. I mean, it's just disgusting that these serpents really believe that they're going to win. They're you know, the elites who are part of this bloodline believe they're going to win. But the war's already been won. The story was over the minute Jesus died on the cross for our sins to set the captives free. I'm one of the captives he set free. There is freedom in Christ. So if this is happening to you on any level, you can be set free.
Yes. Praise God for that.
Amen. If you need us to pray for you, or you need help, we can direct you to the right people. You just write us, we'll write you right back. Or you can give us a number and we'll call you. Hey, thank you for joining us today. We're going into this topic way deeper in the next couple of videos, so you will have a deeper understanding. I don't even know when this subject's going to end for us. We have so much to go into.
Yes, we do.
We thank you for joining us. Our time has run out today, but we have so much to share.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you here really soon.
And God bless you.
God bless
Shalom,
everyone. Shalom, shalom.
I can hear you call my name. I can hear you call my name. I can hear you call my name. Come